Right, here's my video on how to beat Slayer. There are 4 main methods. The first is to go in and punish their combos. The second is to ambush. The third is to use a gun.
For his neutral special, he wields a gun.
The fourth is how to trade with Slayer the correct way. For the first method, it requires a lot of patience. However, it is probably the most effective way to beat it, especially if you are another attacker. There is a massive window to punish the player after the second hit of the combo. The first hit also has a window to punish from, however, it's a bit smaller than the second one, and also, of course, they can follow up with the second hit of the combo if they choose to, so it's a bit more risky. I recommend, as a safe method, to just punish them after the second hit of the Slayer combo. Of course, ambushing is extremely effective, but all you need to do is just go behind them when they're busy doing something else, and that's when you can get free damage, and maybe even kill them before they can react and pull out the Slayer to attack you. The third method is to use a gun.
For his neutral special, he wields a gun.
Pull out a different weapon to fight them with. It's probably easier for you to beat the Slayer person without getting into the scary range. The fourth method, what I recommend to a new player using melee, is trading with Slayer properly. When you're at full health, you can go in against the Slayer and just use your attack combo to out DPS them. I will give some advanced tips and a bit more detail on the Slayer combo and how to punish it. First thing I want to talk about is the different kinds of movement you can use to get in and get out with the punishes. The first one, and the most simple one, and the thing that I recommend people to learn first, is dashing. Dash attacks are very effective for punishing both the first and second hit of Slayer. The second thing is, springboard is basically another dash attack. Especially when you're out of stability, people generally just stand there and not really do anything. What you could be doing instead is instant springboarding, which is just jumping and then using your springboard in a direction to use it as a pseudo dash. Very effective. I recommend people to learn that one too. The last one, and a bit more advanced, and one that I think that the top attackers should be spending their time to learn, is something I call the Babito movement, named after, well, Babito. His movement is very, very tricky. And what he does, staying sprinting the entire duration, swing in with your melee weapon, and once you reach maximum range, you turn around and sprint back. You want an almost boomerang movement with it, where your maximum range is the one where it's the peak, and then you immediately 180 and turn around. The 1-2 combo of Slayer is quite an interesting punish window. It lasts such a long time, and it's so massive, that it's extremely risky to go in too early. But of course that minimizes the amount of damage that you can deal while they're vulnerable. The second hit of the combo has more time for you to do damage afterwards. That's when I think you should go in. For the first hit of their combo, if you predict that they won't be using the second hit, try and go in and punish it. If you think that they will be using the second hit, do not go and punish it, unless you are on 0 ping with host advantage. In that case, you can probably get away with it. There is occasionally a third hit of Slayer. However, it's much smaller. When it happens, it's extremely rare, and also it's not very good for them to do it, as they have even more time before they can get their massive scary 1-2 combo. I'm gonna do a note on gunners, casters and snipers against the Slayer user. For gunners especially, there are quite a few different options, and generally most of them can beat Slayer quite easily. All the pistol variants and shotguns should be up close and just dancing outside of the range of Slayer. It is slower than the other attacker weapons, and it is quite noticeable. Maintaining a dash backwards or springboard backwards, or blinking away, and staying in your optimal aim assist range, you should be able to kill them quite easily as long as it's an open space. If you are not in an open space, I recommend immediate retreat. You should be trying to lower their stability as fast as you can, because they are unlikely to be using shield, as shield and slayer synergize the least out of all melee weapons. For casters, for Nova and Bolt users, I recommend retreating until their stability is quite low. Then it's your chance to try and smack them with as much damage as possible to tank their stability. Then you just load up all your cubes that you've been saving for the fight into them. Don't waste the cubes too soon. Bounder is the only weapon that I think is on par, or even better, than Slayer in a closed environment. It's risky to fight a Slayer player inside a house if you don't have enough to survive 75 damage. But if you can, it's probably worth retreating to a house. If you can't, it's probably worth retreating to a pit. It's up to the terrain. It's a really tricky weapon. However, I think Bounder has the advantage just due to the range. For Hunter, I just hope you're really good at unguided Hunters. Attackers really suck against Hunter, because they will be cloaked for the majority of their fighting. With Snipers, it's probably easier to fight a Slayer player as long as they don't one-shot you. They are very big, very glowy, and it attacks quite slowly. You might even be able to stay a bit longer than usual due to the slightly reduced movement speed. Really try and punish them for going in the open. And obviously, if they get in up close too much, just retreat is the simplest way to deal with it. Some people would suggest aiming for the arm against Slayer. I don't recommend it, especially as a sniper. Just try and get that kill. It will disappear off of their body if they lose their arm. If there is no Slayer on their back or in their hand, it means it is offline. Slayer's a pretty cracked weapon, obviously. It's absolutely huge. It is very active, which means it hits for a very long time for its attacks. And the headshots one-shot you. You should be running away from Slayer in a closed up space with no dodging room. And of course, you can't actually beat anything every single time.